My family gave gifts to everyone except me. My mom gasped, "Oh, baby, we forgot." They laughed, then demanded that I fund my brother's startup. I smiled and said, their faces went pale. The couch was already made up, a blanket neatly folded, a pillow fluffed and pressed into the corner. No one asked where I wanted to sleep. I stood just inside the doorway, suitcase still in hand, coat still buttoned up to my throat. My name is Nina Cho, 31 years old, and I hadn't stepped foot in this house or spoken to my family in 8 years. But here I was back in the two-story beige box I used to call home, standing in the hallway where every photo on the wall featured my brother Dylan front and center. The same hallway where my voice never carried, where my achievements never made it onto the fridge. When my mother opened the door, her eyes flickered like a light bulb trying to decide whether it should bother turning on. "Nina." Her smile stretched, but didn't reach her eyes. "You look older." She stepped aside. I entered. The house smelled the same, like lemon polish over cooked onions and something faintly stale beneath it all. There was already a buzz of conversation coming from the kitchen. No one turned around when I walked in. A couple of glances. No greetings. And then the couch. My old room, I was told, was now Dylan's home office. Of course, it was. "So sorry," my mom said as if it were a hotel booking error. "We figured you'd be fine here, just like old times." Just like old times. That phrase stuck to me like static because I remembered the old times. I remembered the birthdays where Dylan got the cake and I got the leftover icing. The Christmas mornings where he opened 5 gifts before I even touched one. The dinners where I did the dishes and he got praised for finishing his plate. I looked at the couch. Same cushions, same sag in the middle. But I wasn't the same girl who used to curl up on it hoping someone would finally ask her what she wanted to be when she grew up. They'd called me back for Christmas after all this time, after all the silence, and I couldn't help but wonder why now I was 8 the first time I noticed the pattern. Dylan got applause. I got silence. He brought home a B+ on a math test, and there were high fives around at the dinner table. I won a regional essay contest. No one mentioned it. They forgot to come to the awards ceremony. At 13, I sat in a beige office chair with my knees pulled to my chest while Dr. Kaminsky, the school therapist, folded her hands and said plainly to my parents, "Nina isn't distant. She's lonely, and she's learning that being invisible keeps her safe." My mom smiled too tightly. We love both our kids equally, but I watched Dylan play with the hem of his new hoodie, a brand name one he'd asked for just the week before. My winter jacket was from the clearance bin at the Korean market, 2 sizes too big, still smelling faintly of someone else. He was the golden boy, football team co-captain, senior class vice president, prom king nominee. He got the car at 16, the framed graduation photos, the customized cake. I got a happy birthday text and leftover candles stuck into a grocery store muffin. When I got accepted into a competitive STEM summer program, I told my parents at dinner. My mom didn't even look up from her phone. My dad asked if it was free. Dylan mentioned he needed new cleats, and suddenly they were planning a trip to the sporting goods store. Still, I kept trying. For a while, I believed if I did enough, they'd see me. At 16, I got my first job fixing computers at a dusty electronics repair shop across town. I'd bike there after school, rain or shine, hands blistered from cold handlebars. By junior year, I was building websites for local businesses, sneaking programming books into my room at night like they were contraband. When I got a full scholarship to an out-of-state tech university, I told my parents in the kitchen. My mom paused to the microwave and blinked. "What are we supposed to do with your room then?" Dylan got a backyard party when his Stanford acceptance came in the mail. I moved out with 2 duffel bags, and no one even asked for my address. For a while, Dylan would still text surface-level things like Happy New Year or Still Alive. It felt less like care, more like obligation. Then he stopped completely. Years later, I found out why. A friend from back home sent me a photo of Dylan giving a speech at a tech networking event. He was describing how he grew up in a hard-working family that always supported him and how his sister went a different path and lost touch. That was how he framed it. I lost touch. Not that I was shut out. Not that I stopped showing up because there was never a place set for me to begin with. I wasn't angry, just hollow. You grow used to being edited out. The silence folds itself around you like insulation. You stop raising your hand. You stop bringing news home. And eventually, you stop coming home at all. But then the call came. My mom's voice thin over the phone. "It's been so long, Nina. We'd love to see you. Come home for Christmas." As if the years between never happened. As if I had always been welcome. I hung up and stared at the couch in my apartment. It had cost me 4 months' rent and 3 weeks of arguing with the delivery service. It had its own dents and scratches, but it was mine. I wondered if I went back, would anything have changed, or was I still just the girl meant to sleep on the couch? By Christmas Eve, the living room was a full house. My aunts, uncles, cousins, they were all there balancing paper plates and wine glasses, laughing in pockets of noise. I hovered near the hallway feeling like a guest at someone else's party. No one really made space. They nodded, gave polite hellos. A few asked what I'd been up to. Not in the curious way, in the please don't actually tell me way. Then Dylan walked in. Sharp blazer, loud voice, holding court like always. "Everyone, this is Mia," he announced, wrapping an arm around a petite woman with glossy hair and an Instagram smile. "And," he gestured dramatically to her stomach, "your future niece or nephew." Applause. Cheers. My mother's eyes welled with happy tears. I stepped forward and said, "Congratulations." Dylan grinned sideways. "Thanks, sis. Still coding in basement somewhere." Some chuckles followed. I smiled faintly. Something like that. They didn't ask more. Later, while they prepped dinner, I wandered into the dining room. The table was set with name cards, gold cursive folded neatly at each place. I looked for mine. It wasn't there. I circled once twice. Every spot was labeled, every chair accounted for, except the folding chair shoved to the far end of the table near the swinging kitchen door. No name, no cushion, no surprise. I sat. Steam drifted from the oven as my mom called out, "Dinner's ready." People began to file in. Dylan got the seat next to our father. Mia settled between two cousins. My Aunt Nora sat across from me and glanced at the chair. "Oh, dear," she said with a nervous laugh. "I didn't know we were using that one." I smiled. Neither did I. The meal went as I expected. Dylan held attention with tales of his startup dreams and how tech disruption was just around the corner. "I just need the capital," he said, like it was a foregone conclusion. People nodded. My mom patted his hand. "We'll figure it out," she said. Then came the gifts. After dinner, someone brought out a glossy pile of boxes and bags. Names were read aloud. Wrapping paper flew. Squeals of thanks echoed. I handed mine out one by one, carefully chosen cashmere for Mom, rare tea blends for Aunt Nora, a signed first edition for Dad. No one asked how I afforded them. No one paused long enough to ask anything. And when it came time for me, my mom gasped too loud. "Oh, Nina, we forgot laughter." "Dylan, just like when we were kids. Don't cry this time." I didn't. That night back on the couch, I scrolled through social media curious. I clicked into my cousin Sarah's page, the one I'd once lent money to so she could cover rent during grad school. Her family photo album was titled "Christmas at Home." There were 32 pictures, laughter, candles, Dylan and Mia glowing. I wasn't in a single one, not even the group photo I was standing in when it was taken. They had cropped me out, or maybe they never framed the shot with me in it at all. I stared at the screen, then slowly turned it off. How do you mourn something that never held you in the first place? That night, after everyone had gone to bed, I sat on the couch in the dark. No TV, no phone, just the soft of the heater and the occasional rattle of wind against the window. The blanket was the same one from my teenage years, faded blue edges frayed. I pulled it over my knees and stared at the ceiling. I didn't cry, not out of strength, just nothing left to spill. There's a moment when you stop hoping the story will change. When you stop waiting for someone to say, "I'm sorry we made you feel small," or "you deserved better." It doesn't come. It never does, so you stop asking. I lay down on the couch not because I had to, but because that was the space they gave me, and this time, I wasn't going to fight for more. Instead, I reached for my phone and opened my camera, took a photo of the couch blanket pillow, dim yellow light from the hallway, and posted it to my private story. No caption, no context, just the same couch, same spot. A different woman. In the morning, I was the first one up. I folded the blanket neatly, set the pillow upright. I poured myself coffee from the half-empty pot no one had touched and stood by the kitchen window as the sun cracked through the clouds. Mia came downstairs rubbing her belly. She glanced at me surprised. "You're up early, couldn't sleep." She nodded, but said nothing. I didn't offer more. I went upstairs, quietly gathered my things from the corner of the hallway where I'd stashed my suitcase. No one had bothered to bring it in. I zipped it closed, double-checked the handle, and wheeled it back down the stairs. The house was still asleep. At the bottom, I paused. I looked at the couch one more time. The dent in the middle, the pillow leaning sideways, the blanket still holding the shape of me. I didn't leave a note. I didn't slam the door. I just walked out. Let them wake to silence. Let them wonder. Let them remember that for once I left before they could push me out. I returned that afternoon mostly out of obligation. My mom had sent a group message when I hadn't realized I'd been added back to reminding everyone about Christmas lunch. I stared at it for a full minute before replying with a single word. "Sure." When I arrived, Dylan was already there, arms spread wide like I was the one late to a performance. "Look who decided to show," he said. "The coding queen returns." I gave him a nod, took off my coat, and set it on the arm of the couch. The same one. Lunch was loud. People passed dishes without looking at who was reaching. The conversation spun around Dylan again. His startup idea had apparently evolved. Now it was an AI-driven social commerce platform or maybe a gamified crypto reward system. It changed depending on which relative asked. "We just need to build the MVP," he said confidently, chewing on a forkful of mashed potatoes. "The bones are solid. How much are you needing to get started?" My dad asked. Dylan leaned back like he'd been waiting for the question. "About 200,000. Could bootstrap it, but if we want to launch right," I choked slightly on my water. $200,000. There it was. My mother nodded slowly as if considering something noble. "Well, we'll figure something out," she said, casting a glance in my direction. Family helps family. The room shifted, not visibly, but I felt it. Eyes turning, heads tilting, a silence that held weight. Dylan looked at me grinning. "Honestly, Nina, with the kind of work you're doing, that's like a rounding error, right?" I set my fork down. "What kind of work are you doing?" "Dear," Aunt Nora chimed in. Still with the little websites, I smiled, polite but tight. "I design enterprise-level cybersecurity infrastructure for Fortune 500 clients. Our last licensing deal brought in enough for me to buy my apartment outright." A few eyebrows raised. A cousin whispered something to her husband. Dylan whistled low. "Damn. Big time." I didn't reply. My dad cleared his throat. "That's impressive. You've really done well for yourself." "I have." Another beat. "We just think my mom started that. If anyone can help Dylan right now, it's you." I looked at them. All of them. The people who used to laugh when I stayed in my room too long, who once offered me a dishwasher job as a joke, who forgot to buy me a gift less than 48 hours ago. "You want me to fund his startup?" I said. After all this, Dylan raised a hand like I was being dramatic. "Hey, no pressure. But come on, Nina. This is a chance to be part of something real." I turned to my mom. "Did you ever ask what I needed when I left home or when I had to work 2 jobs in college just to keep a roof over my head?" Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. "You gave him everything. You gave me silence." My dad tried to interject. "That was a different time. You had money for his tuition, for his first car, for his wedding." And I got the couch. My voice didn't rise. I didn't need it to. I stood up and picked up my coat. "I'm not investing in anything, and I'm not staying for dessert." Behind me, Dylan scoffed. "You'll regret this." I turned back, looked him in the eye. "No, I won't," and I meant it. I didn't hear from them that night. No angry texts. No missed calls, just a strange quiet like the house had finally swallowed itself. I drove back to the city the next morning without saying goodbye. By the time I reached my apartment, the notifications had started. "Aunt Nora, just wanted to say how proud we all are. Your mom says you're doing so well. A cousin I hadn't spoken to in years heard about your job. Amazing. Family's family. Right? Then my mom don't let one bad conversation ruin everything. We still love you, still, as if love had ever been the starting point." I ignored them all. But then came the call I wasn't sure I'd been expecting or dreading. It was from Sarah, my cousin. The one person who years ago had slipped me $20 when I was short on groceries. The one who used to text happy birthday even when no one else remembered. The only person who'd ever stood beside me when the room turned cold. I answered. "Jesus, Nina," she said, sighing. "What happened?" I told her. "Not all of it. Just enough." There was a long pause on the other end. "You know they're spinning it now, right?" she said. "Your mom's telling everyone you're rich and heartless, that you ambushed Christmas with your ego." I didn't respond. "They're saying you refused to help your own brother when he's starting a business to support a family." I waited. Then she said it. "I mean, I know they've been unfair, but maybe just let this one go. I don't think anything good comes from keeping it alive." It stung more than I expected. She wasn't cruel. She wasn't wrong. But she wasn't standing with me either. Not really. That's the thing, I said quietly. I didn't keep it alive. They just never stopped pretending it didn't happen. Sarah was silent for a moment, then said, "I guess I just don't want to see you get pushed out again." I swallowed. "I'm not getting pushed out." Then after a breath, I walked out. That's different. They didn't stop trying. For the next week, messages trickled in like clockwork. Carefully worded apologies that never used the word sorry. Just phrases like, "Let's move forward," or "Family goes through rough patches." One voicemail ended with my mother's voice, brittle but oddly bright. "Maybe next year you can come a few days early. We'll clear out the guest room." Guest room. It was never mine to begin with, I suppose. I didn't reply. I didn't block them either. Just watched the messages pile up untouched, like unopened gifts you already know you don't want. Sarah texted once more. "Everyone's still talking. It's getting out of hand. Do you want me to say something?" I thought about it. And then I wrote back, "No, let 'em." Because for once, I wasn't interested in setting the record straight. I wasn't trying to correct their story or clean up the mess they made out of my name. Let 'em talk. Let 'em twist it. I wasn't coming back anyway. They could rewrite the ending 100 times over, but I already knew where mine stopped. I said it to Sarah first almost like a whisper, and I didn't know then that it would be the last thing I'd ever need to say to any of them. I was never missing, I told her. I was always there. They just lived easier pretending I wasn't. 3 weeks later, I donated the couch, the one in my apartment, not because I needed the space, but because I no longer wanted to carry the symbol. It wasn't the same couch I slept on back home, but it might as well have been. Same dull gray, same sag in the middle, same way it had held me through years of silence. The movers wrapped it in plastic. As they wheeled it out the door, I caught a glimpse of the underside faint blue ink where I had once scribbled an idea for a website back in college, a version of me still trapped in survival. I didn't erase it. I didn't say goodbye, I just turned away. Later that night I sat on the bare floor where it used to be, a glass of wine, quiet music, no wait behind me, no ghost to lean on. My phone buzzed, another number I didn't recognize. I let it ring. Outside the window, the city shimmered unbothered, alive. The next morning, I posted a photo. No people, no words, just the empty corner where the couch used to be. I didn't caption it, but for anyone who knew me, really knew me, it said everything. Not mine, not anymore. If they ever gave you the couch and called it a gift, you don't have to explain. Just leave a dot.